Alrighty then, it's time for some fisting action with Vi. Hooray! This one. Yeah, I haven't played Vi in quite a while, or less made a video with her. But yeah, basically the main question or main thing about this video is, why isn't she played? What's wrong with her? Why are you even playing her then? For the third question I'll actually answer, I just kind of felt like it. Now, she isn't one of my favorite champions to play, but I do love combo champions, and you can do quite a bit of combo damage with her, and that's always fun. As far as why she's not played, it's essentially that she just kind of has those types of situations where she's either too strong or too weak. Because if her damage is good, then it's probably because she'll probably be OP, because she's a champion that you can't really escape from when she uses her ultimate on you, and she can possibly burst you down. So she gets to play like a bruiser most of the times, and if she can assassinate you as a bruiser, that tends to be a really bad thing. And if her damage isn't high enough, then she's pretty much pointless. And this is where a lot of people will be upset because, Stonewall, how can she be pointless? She has a choke slam thing that's, no one can not dodge or something unless they have some kind of special means. Like a Tom player, a Tom super duper counters Vi. Well, for starters, she, compared to a lot of other champions, she just kind of falls to the wayside. The most direct comparison, who isn't exactly directly the same, but kind of does very similar things and ultimately does the same thing, just a different way of doing it. It's Jarvan. She's just always a weaker Jarvan. She's only really ever better than him when her damage is considerably, stronger. If they're on par, then Jarvan's probably just better. And now, since Jade Camille is like this niche jungler kind of thing, and she exists, she's just kind of better at Vi at doing that job because she scales and can do quite a bit. By the way, here I tried ulting and smiting the Kha'Zix so then I could kill the Ahri, but instead the Ahri just got to run off. It would have been pretty cool if I got a double kill in that fashion, but you can't win them all. But yeah, essentially put, Vi is just one of those champions that's impossible to balance because, surprise, surprise, for a lot of people who may not know this because they haven't been playing for a long time, Vi was supposed to be a laner, and a laner that's supposed to be able to all-in you considerably. And I bring this up again because her latest buffs, which didn't really ultimately do anything, Riot specifically said they were an attempt to buff her up for the lane. Again, she was supposed to be this all-in lane champion that was supposed to, just kind of push away, farm a bit, and if a chance presented itself, just dunk somebody and just force a fight, and she would either win or lose in that situation. Be a very risky champion. But her laning back then and mostly now is still really bad. She pushes the wave, and in the past especially, you try to control it, you wouldn't want to push too much. And she's very telegraphed, meaning you can see everything coming. Yeah, you can, her ultimate is untargetable, or you can't miss it. It's a targetable ultimate that's going to grab you. But you see that coming, and you can sort of telegraph when the enemy Vi wants to do that, so you can prepare for it. And a lot of champions can just, dodge, and it's just not that great anymore. So yeah, lane Vi didn't work out, so it turns out all those things that were good about that were quote unquote good about her in lane, are supposed to be good about it, were really strong in the jungle. The attack speed steroid, the multiple AoE clearing, that kind of stuff is pretty damn good. And then attach an ultimate to it that just means you're gonna grab the opponent whether or not you actually kill them. It's insane. So, as a result, Vi has always been in this whole stream of being nerfed and buffed and nerfed and buffed. And in this case, they buffed her and they were trying to make it for the lane, and they were trying to be very conservative about it. So yeah, Vi went from a champion who quite a bit of few offensive builds worked out on her. Not too many defensive ones, mostly offensive builds. And when the defensive ones worked, they were pretty strict ones. To now having very few worthwhile builds. Most of the builds she gets are very expensive, which are not good for junglers, and they're very snowball dependent as a result, or they're just kind of lackluster in several ways. In this case, the build I'm taking is an attempt to revive an old build that I really liked, and this one was when she was only moderately powerful, so you might see her sometimes, but she wasn't completely dumpster. It's the I just called it the glove build because you would take the Iceborne Gauntlet and you take the Serox Gauge, the gloved one, and you would essentially be wearing 2 gloves. Hooray for the joke. And eventually you get something like Maul Mortius, and this was when Serox Gauge and Maul did their own things. Yeah. So and now since they don't do it, you don't only just get one or the other, and mostly it's Maul Mortius against magic and Serox against everything else, and also Iceborne Gauntlet against most situations. In this case, I'm going Titanic Hydra and then Iceborne Gauntlet, so you'll see me do this like really slow third punch that activates my thingy, but it deals quite a bit of damage, and it helps with the whole combo thing. You'll see me do that quite a bit of times. And again, it's a more tankier build. It's a tankier build, but it's still offensive, and I like it. And the Cinderhulk, it's interchangeable with Warrior, so you don't have to feel too struck into that one. But again, it's a pretty good one. In this game, I decided to go with this build, mostly because I saw how slow the early game was going. If I had gotten a few kills, if I hadn't just been wandering around farming. I mean, I have 6 kills now, but early on in the game, you saw I was kind of floundering about, and my Qs weren't that great, so I was feeling that I couldn't rely on the super burst damage from Warrior and the more traditional Trinity Force, so I opted to change my build as the game progressed. Now, Cinderhulk, again, is not the greatest thing on her, but if you're going to go with this build, you might as well go full on with it. So yeah, my burst damage isn't super considerable as it would be with Trinity Force, but it is more reliable because even if I miss one portion of it, the rest of it is pretty healthy too, rather than relying on the humongous burst from my Q. Like, I just basically Q in, auto attack, E, Titanic Hydra, and then hopefully they die by that point. But again, my damage is respectable and pretty strong, and if I stand my ground and wail on somebody, I won't die immediately, and I'll be able to do quite a bit of damage. And also too, I opted not to go with the Super Glass Cannon build because they have a Tom, and Tom's Super Giga Mega counters Vi. Because no matter how cool your combo is, he's just gonna swallow his teammate and then just completely nullify your attempt to destroy them. So I needed to at least make my pummeling better as a backup in this case. And it's been working, as you can see. I haven't really commented too much on the game aside from builds and whatnot, but it's a pretty standard game, My teammates are starting to get the edge because the enemy team composition, while it's not completely terrible, they don't have an actual engage. And Tom is their only front line, but he's pretty easy to kite and control unless he uses his ultimate really well. And my team is rather strong at evading things and destroying fights and, causing shenanigans to go about. In here, Gragas gets a really good body slam, and he managed to get the Jinx kill, and then Tom sneaks from behind. And at this point, Tom isn't fed or big enough to become this really aggressive, annoying, unkillable machine. So with a few blows and attacks, he would just drop down. And again, because of my build against Tom, I don't flounder as much. You can see I can slug it out with him, and it's really gross how much damage he can take from someone like Vi or someone with this kind of build. But at the very least, I survived long enough for my teammates to show up to kill him, or I kind of naturally pummel him down because, my W taking effect a ton of times is pretty good. Here I actually fucked up my entire combo, but my damage is glorious enough that I still knocked her ass out. So hooray for me. Here I jump on time. You can see that my damage is pretty good, and we bring him down. Kha'Zix tries to be try being really brave, though to his credit, he almost took me down, but he gets punched in his little bug face and destroyed. So yeah, my build is basically complete. The next item I'm getting, or the next item you would want to get in this situation, is just anything you really want, whatever you feel needs to be built towards this game. In this case, I'm taking Dead Man's Plate to give me more of that bursty damage, because I'm already pretty bursty, not considerably as much so, but it's going to feed into my Titanic, it's going to give me a good follow-up to my Q, and Generous is pretty good. And Jinx gets close to the wall, and I obviously just ult her and she implodes. And with that, the enemy team is basically routed, but the game is still not over because we don't really have that many minions at the base to push, admirably. And we're also pretty low health, but pretty low health, so a few of us could get picked off if we're not careful. Here, the enemy team gives a very desperate chase because we have blown most of our stuff and they know it, and we're pretty low health. But thankfully, Brand was enough of a distraction for Poppy and I to survive, at least for now. So yeah. But yeah, the kill spirit is disgusting on my team. Everyone who matters, even the Brand, has a considerable amount of kills. Here again, I fight Tom, and look at that. Even as tanky as I am, he did a crap ton of damage. If it wasn't for my teammates showing up, I probably would have died. Now imagine if I had gone glass cannon. It would have just, tongued me, and I would have died really quickly. So yeah. So Vi, again, her builds aren't as great as before because of the limitations they have put on her, but she still has some pretty good, she has good use of some aggressive ones, and that's namely why I still will play her like her. Because that weird tanky Vi thing that was a long time ago, the pure tank, was really not fun to play. And I've always liked glass cannon, and I've always liked the whole fisty double glove thingy. So this is sort of, I'll just call it the spiritual successor of the fisty build. But either way, the enemy team surrenders, and that is game. So hooray for Vi, and hooray for pretty much a clean game. Hooray. And if you liked this video, remember to give it a like. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit the little bell up there somewhere so you actually get notifications to my videos, because YouTube and stuff.